Today's High Performance Podcast is brought to you by Josh Phegan Digital. It's the only place to track and keep yourself accountable by looking at all of the essential numbers, from buyer appointments, market appraisals and listing appointments, to listings, sales and income, and working in 45-minute sessions. You'll find it all on Josh Phegan Digital. Welcome to High Performance, the podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Alexander Phillips. Alexander, there is something unique in the water, I think, in what you actually got to do as a real estate agent. And this is that whole idea about the buy work and what actually happens in the first 14 days of a campaign. And I know it sounds funny, but I had an agent come to me the other day. Josh, I've just launched a $4 million listing. It's gone live. We've done our first Saturday open home and no one has turned up. And she looked me dead in the eye. She said, "So what do I do?" And I wanted to say work. but the foundational idea is that literally there's obviously some things that you guys do in terms of lists, in terms of buyer matching, in terms of lookalike campaigns, in terms of ringing market appraisals in the price range before. Can you run us through like what that checklist looks like to make sure that you get lots and lots of buyer activity in the first 14 days of a campaign?
Yeah, hi Josh. That scenario that you just mentioned, it sounds like unfortunately that agent's probably a bit of an order taker in the way that they put online and just wait.
Yes.
Hope that domain and realestate.com is going to produce a buyer. Like the vendor might as well do that themselves. There's no benefit to the vendor at all. So, if let's look at us in that scenario, how we would have targeted it, and probably it's overpriced too. They didn't have anyone through. Firstly.
Yes.
But if you wind it back, a week when you signed it up. So the minute it's signed up, you're calling your underbidders, you're telling the team about it. They're going to look at it. You're getting the marketing booked at the marketing, getting all the buyers agents through. The buyers agents say, yeah, we've got 2 buyers. It goes online the next day, goes online on a Thursday, do preliminary open on a Friday for 15 minutes or half an hour. Given that work you've done that week with underbidders, a team, buyers agents, you should at least get 3 to 6 buyers through. Out of that, 2 will say they're keen. They're coming back on Saturday. Then you've got the rest of the momentum happening. So worst case, you should have at least 10 to 15 groups through, but you've already had second inspections, offers and contracts out. But the work has actually started a week before it went online.
And so that whole idea about like saying, hey, we've just listed Smith Street, Jones Street that we sold 3 months ago is probably a similar property. Can we get on the phone and ring every single person who inquired or physically inspected that property there and try to get them across to the next one? Like that's what you've got the team doing really, really well, and great buyer work that anyone who walked through that should be looking at that. Do enough agents just not do that in terms of like picking up the phone and ringing those and just relying on a text or an email out and not actually really doing the proper hard work?
Yeah, like Josh, it's, even, a house that we sold last week in Bronte is a semi-record for Bronte. When I saw the property, I actually went there and I took a top 5 buyer list with me, and it was a genuine top 5 buyer list, and the first person on that list bought it 4 days after it was on the market. So, like we've got everything, because particularly if you're in a marketplace, right? You're in a marketplace, which means you're listing and selling like for like, and it can sometimes be listing and selling in the last 10 days, 30 days, or a year ago, because that data you can still use.
Yeah.
And, it could be someone that lives in the surrounding streets by doing a just listed, just sold call. I sold a house 2 years ago in Bronte for $14 million. It was a 6-bedroom house. I went, I'll do a just listed call. I'll call families in Bronte to have 4 more kids, and we called a family and end up buying. They weren't even looking. So it's also like thinking smart on where that buyer might actually come from and targeting it.
The big conversation too is about like, even working the market appraisals in the price range before. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, getting someone, for example, who's got a 3-bedroom and getting them to buy up and buy a 4-bedroom. Like, is that a part of the skill set? Because a lot of people just say, oh, that's an appraisal, but they don't think to ring that appraisal, get them through. If they like a 4-bedder, maybe the 3-bedder's in an easier price point to sell or has got a bit more demand, and so you can get that one away and then create the buy for the 4.
And that's why sometimes even doing like a price check on a house, like one Tom and I did yesterday in Clovelly, we went into a fully renovated 3-bedroom semi. He only wanted a price check, but we went in there. He's got 1 child. He said they want to have a second. We had a conversation saying, okay, you've got a 3-bedroom house. When you have the second, obviously going to be out, but you're fully aware that at the moment doing an upgrade is absolutely the best time to do it. And we came in with properties that they can actually go to.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually go in with a price check. We went in and said, okay, we knew that these guys were in a 3-bedroom semi and, they're a young family, and we just sort of worked out that they're going to have to upgrade. And we talked about the next step and where that would go to, and what it would have been 6 months ago, and they would have been, $500,000 worse off. So it's about being smart and progressing, both vendors and buyers.